afternoon, viewers at home. Once again, my name is Bamidele, also known as Bam. Today, we'll be discussing on a topic called TUs and supporting system. Now, the supporting system is a part of connective tissue, and it consists of skeleton and muscles. It consists of skeleton and what? Muscles. Now, today, we'll be discussing on skeleton and the subtopic under skeleton. We'll look at the components of skeleton, we'll look at types of skeleton, we'll look at mammalian skeleton, so what is a skeleton? A skeleton is a framework which confers support, shape, and protection to the soft tissues and organs in the body. Now, if you look at the definition, you'll see that skeleton helps to provide support, it helps to give shape and protection to soft tissues and organs in the body. For example, brain is one of the most important organ in the body, delicate and the most important organ in the body. Heart is one of the most important organ in the body, and both are being protected by skeleton. E.g., the skull protects the brain, while the ribs protect the what? The heart. So, skeleton is the major framework in which the body is what? Built. The next one is component of what? Skeleton. Component of skeleton. We also call it forms of skeleton. Skeleton can be in form of cortical. It can be in form of a bone. It can be in form of a cartilage, and it can be in form of a fluid. Let's take a look at it one after the other. The first one, cortical. Skeleton in form of cortical is made up of dead cell and a carbohydrate substance called chitin. Animal or organism that has cortical as their form of skeleton carry out ecdysis or molting, because the cortical is made up of dead cell. It cannot grow. So when such animal grow, the skeleton cannot accommodate them, what they do is to shed off the old skeleton and build another one. The process of shedding off their old skeleton and building another one is called ecdysis or molting. A good example of an animal with this type of skeleton are arthropods, mollusca, and so on and so forth. The second one, bone. This form of skeleton consists of a living cell called osteocytes. It consists of a protein fiber called collagen and a mineral substance which is made up of calcium phosphate, and calcium carbonate. Animals that possess this skeleton, this as their form of skeleton, do not undergo ecdysis because the skeleton is made up of a living cell. So as the body grows, so also the skeleton do what? Grow. Example, mammals has bone as their form of skeleton. Number 3, cartilage. Cartilage is another form of skeleton which consists of a living cell called chondroblast. A carbohydrate substance, and a protein fiber. It also grows as the body grows, but the difference between cartilage and bone is that a bone consists of mineral substance, so it makes it very, very hard and dense. But cartilage has a high tensile strength and it helps to cushion friction in joint. There are 3 types of cartilage. Number 1, hyaline cartilage. Number 2, elastic cartilage. And number 3, fibrocartilage. Hyaline cartilage is found in a part of body like the trachea of the lung, the bronchi of the lung, and the protruding part of our what? Nose. The elastic cartilage can be found in our pinna. The external air is made up of elastic cartilage, while fibrocartilage is found in the disc of vertebral column between 2 vertebrae. The last one under component of skeleton is fluid. Fluid is found in a soft body animals like earthworm, and it consists of a fluid pressure which helps to support the body of such animal. Then after this, we're going to look at the types of skeleton. There are 3 types of skeleton, and these are exoskeleton, endoskeleton, and hydrostatic skeleton. Now, what is the meaning of these types? The first one, exoskeleton. This is a skeleton found outside the body of the animal or organism that possess them. The skeleton is protecting the entire body of the animal. For instance, animals like insects, some mollusks, crustacean, etc. Their type of skeleton is exoskeleton. Now, let me relate this with forms of skeleton. Animals that have exoskeleton as their type of skeleton, their component of the skeleton is cortical. That is, the skeleton consists of dead cells. So, the animal that has exoskeleton undergo ecdysis or what? Molting. Number 2, endoskeleton. This is the type of skeleton found inside the body of an organism. The animal that has this type of skeleton have bones and cartilage as their form of skeleton. So, they don't undergo ecdysis because both bone and cartilage consist of living cells. So, as the body grows, so also the skeleton grows. So, example of animal with endoskeleton are mammals, Pisces, reptiles, etc. Then hydrostatic skeleton. This is a skeleton found in a soft body animals like earthworm, leeches, etc. Comparing it with forms of skeleton, animals with hydrostatic skeleton has fluid as their forms of what? Skeleton. So, the fluid pressure helps to support the organism. The next is mammalian skeleton. Mammalian skeleton. Now, the mammalian skeleton is divided into 2 parts. The first one is called axial skeleton. And the second one, appendicular skeleton. Now, let's take the first one, axial skeleton. This skeleton consists of 3 major parts. 1, cranium. 2, facial bones. And 3, jaws. Let's take it one after the other. Cranium. This is also called brain box, and it consists of flat bones which are joined together by a saw-like edges called suture. They consist of flat bones like frontal, parietal, temporal. Then, the major function of the cranium is to help to protect one of the most delicate organs in the body called the brain. These flat bones that comes together or join together to form cranium has a particular point of connection. We call it fontanelles. At early age of human, the fontanelles is the soft tissue found at a particular point here, and it helps in reshaping of the head. The second one is what? Facial bones. This is the bone that supports the facial part of the body. It consists of eye sockets that supports the eyes, nasal bone, the bone of the nose, and zygomate, the bone of the cheek. Then the jaws. We have two types of jaws. We have the upper jaws, which is also called maxilla. Then we have the lower jaws, which also called mandible. Now, the jaw bear teeth and they help in grounding or masticating of what? Food. The axial skeleton consists of the skull. And skull has all this. Then after the skull, we have the vertebral column. Vertebral column. Pardon me. The axial skeleton consists of the skull, the vertebral column we want to talk about now, and the ribs. So the vertebral column. This is the bone. This is our backbone. And it is divided into 5 different sets of bones. 5 different sets of bones. The first one is called cervical. We have thoracic. We have lumbar. We have sacral. And we have cauda. Now, the cervical is found at the neck region. And the first 2 bones of the cervical is called 1. Atlas bone, and 2. Axis bone. The cervical in human are 7 in number. And the first 2 bones are atlas and what? Axis. The atlas and axis are connected or joined together in a way that permit nodding and twisting of the head. The process is called odontoid process. Now the thoracic in human are 12 in number. They are the bone that articulate with the ribs to form rib cage. The lumbar, this is the bone of the chest, articulate with the ribs. The lumbar, the bone of the upper abdominal cavity. Upper abdominal cavity. This helps to bear the weight of the body. The sacral bone is the bone of lower abdominal cavity, and the cauda is the tailbone. Now, in human, the atlas are 7 in number. The cervical are 7 in number, the thoracic 12, the lumbar are 5, the sacral are 5, the cauda is what? 4. So, for the cauda bone in human, there are 4 small bones that are fixed together to form a structure called coccyst, the bone of the buttock. And the general function of the vertebral column is to protect the spinal cord. I repeat, the general function of the vertebral column is to protect the what? Spinal cord. It also helps a human to stand erect. Features of vertebral column. Features of vertebral column. We have features like neural canal that allow the passage of the spinal cord. Neural spine that provides surface for attachment of muscles. Transverse process also provides surface for the attachment of muscles. Facets. It provides surface for the attachment of other vertebral bone, subsequent vertebral bone, then centrum. This is a small piece of bone beneath the neural canal. Now, both neural spine and transverse process provide a surface for the attachment of what? Muscle. But the difference is that neural spine projects dorsally upward, while transverse process projects sideways. The next is still on axial skeleton. The ribs and sternum. Don't forget, I said the axial skeleton is divided into the skull, the what? Vertebral column, and the what? Ribs and sternum. Now, the ribs are made up of a long collar bone which attach to the thoracic bone and to the what? Sternum, to form what we call a rib cage. They are divided into three. We have a true ribs, false ribs, and floating ribs. What is the meaning of these three types? The true ribs are the first 7 ribs. Rib number 1 to 7 are called true ribs, and they are attaching directly to the sternum. The rib number 8, 9th rib, and 10th are called false rib. Why? They are attaching to the sternum via 7th rib. They are not attached to the sternum directly. They are attached to the sternum via 7th ribs. Then the floating ribs are rib number 11 and 12. We call it floating ribs because they are not attaching to the sternum at all. The function of the ribs is to form a cage and to protect organs like the heart, the lungs, and also they help in breathing. Now, appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton. This is divided into 2. We have the gidus and the limbs. The gidus is subdivided into pectoral, the bone of the shoulder, and the pelvis, the bone of the hips, the bone of the pubic region. The limbs is subdivided into 4 limbs: the bone of the hand, and in limbs, the bone of the leg. Let's take it one after the other. Pectoral girdle. This is the bone of the shoulder. It consists of bones like the collarbone, called clavicle, and a shoulder blade called scapula. Then, the scapula consists of bones like scapular blade, the acromion, the coracord, and a notch called glenoid fossa. This glenoid fossa provide attachment for the head of the humerus to form ball and socket joint, the joint that allow movement in all directions. The scapula, acromion, and coracord provide surface for the attachment of muscles. Then the next one is the pelvic bone, the bone of the hips. This consists of bones like ischium, ilium, pubic abs, which are joined together at a point called pubic symphysis. A fossa called obturator foramen, which allow the passage of blood vessels and nerves to the pubic region, and a notch called acetabulum cavity. Acetabulum cavity, which provide a surface for the head of femur to allow movement in all directions. Now, the next one is the limbs. I said limbs is divided into 4 limbs and in limbs. 4 and in limbs. The number of bones in our 4 limbs and our in limbs are the same. And they also have the same arrangement. So, the plan for both 4 limbs and hind limbs is called pentadactyl limb plan. Pentadactyl limb plan. This plan shows that the number and the arrangement of bones in the 4 limbs and in limbs are the same. Now, this is how the pentadactyl limb plan look like. We will label the 4 limbs here. Then here we have our what? Hind limbs. Now, for our 4 limbs, the first bone, the bone of the upper arm, is called humerus, which has 2 extremities. The head, the 2 extreme ends. The head consists of greater and lesser tuberosity. And the head is fit with the glenoid fossa to form ball and socket joint. After the bone of the upper arm, we have two bones in the lower arm. These are the two bones. They are called ulna and radius. They articulate with the humerus to form hip joints at the elbow. After that, we have 9 small bones in our wrist. We call it carpal. This bone helps to glide and slide on top of the two ulna and radius. Then after that, we have 5 shock-like bone, the bone of the palm. We call it metacarpal. Then we have the bone of the finger. They are 14 in number. We call it phalanges. Or the bone of the digit. We call it phalanges. For the hind limbs, the same number of bone as of what? 4 limbs. But the first bone, the bone of the upper leg, the thigh, the bone of the thigh, is called femur. Note, this is the longest bone in the body. Unlike humerus, that has tuberosity at the proximal end, the femur has trochanter at the proximal end. At the head is fit to the acetabulum cavity to form ball and socket joint. Then the next is the bone of the lower leg. We call it tibia and fibula. The head of the tibia and fibula fit with the femur to form hinge joint at the knee, and it is covered by a knee cap called patella. Then after that, we have the bone of the ankle, 9 small bones. We call it tarsal. Then the bone of the foot, metatarsal. And the bone of the toe or digit called phalanges. The major function of all these bones is to help to provide movement, provide surface for the attachment of muscles, and they contain bone marrow, which helps in production of blood. In our next class, we will look at subordinate tissue implant and also look at joint. Thank you and God bless.